When somebody comes into you, you see this imbalance in their system. Before you let them go home to do their 7-day test, would you ask them about their lifestyle and look into their diet?
Well, absolutely. We have to understand that your body is not built to be healthy. And we talked about this last show. It's built to survive, and it's going to survive the best it possibly can. And that has to do with our choices in our lifestyle, which we call the 6 essentials. What you eat, drink, breathe, exercise, rest, and think. So we're always evaluating those processes and how they've affected the way the body's functioning. So I will start to advise people on lifestyle and start to get some information about what they're eating, how they're exercising, what their rest is like, all these types of factors, because like I said, when they're in my office, I'm going to work with physically to remove interference from the nervous system and to clear the awareness so the body can function according to right now. Yet I can't make them healthy. They have to make the choices for themselves on a daily basis.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that. My wife's an acupuncturist, and she's always telling me, gee, if my patients would just do the stuff I recommend for them to do, they'd be a lot better off. But they expect to come in, get an acupuncture treatment, and it's like taking a pill. They'll walk out and feel fine, but that's not the way things work.
Yeah, and a lot of times it doesn't last because, of course, they're not supporting that treatment with their lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
So that is so important, because that's the old paradigm is, treat your body like your automobile. Drop it off at the mechanic, fix it, and pick it up.
Yeah, fix me, please.
Yeah, and I don't want to take any responsibility for this. And it doesn't work that way. We see it doesn't work that way. It's bankrupting the country. We could get talking about that aspect.
We got more than a half an hour's worth of material to cover here. One of the things that I did want to mention, though, because now that we're talking about this stuff, I've noticed this even in my 11-year-old son. When he gets in front of the computer, he may be just fine when he wakes up, but eventually he's a computer nut. So he's eventually over there in front of it, but he becomes more agitated and more limited in focus and stuff. Surprisingly, you think that would focus you right in, but it really does wreak havoc with the guy.
Well, and the whole computer thing is very stimulating. It stimulates, it's very rapid eye movement. It actually, and you look at the body posture, they're usually hunched over, which is in a defensive posture. When you're defense, you contract, so you're leaned over. There's rapid eye movement. Usually you start breathing shallow, so you're not transferring the gases out of the lungs, because that's your first detoxification mechanism, is your breathing. And so you think about the whole aspect of that. It's not a healthy endeavor. It's not healthy
at all. And it's to me, I'm really concerned. I spent a lot of years working in the computer industry, but having my 11-year-old son suddenly, that was like my big fear about having kids is, oh no, he's going to be as diametrically opposed to me as I was to my dad. And here now I'm sort of going, I don't ever want to see the computer again, and he can't wait to get on it.
Yeah. It's a good tool, but it can be overused.
Well, yeah, and kids don't know, and there's no off button on these kids. But one of the things, I like what you mentioned too, he hunches over. I'm constantly telling him to get his posture in order. Let me just ask you this. If people get into those positions, does their subconscious think that there's some sort of threat because of the position?
You got it. Because your body signals will signal that there might be a threat too. Shoulders up. If anyone, a good test to see if you're relaxed is, can you lower your shoulders? If you can lower your shoulders, if they've been up here, you've been in a slight defensive response. So the two things that are real important: can you lower your shoulders, and are you breathing? Because people usually breathe in shallow, or they're breathing like this. And when you breathe like that, again, that's a physical trigger that there's a threat, because your body is mostly designed to breathe here. If you watch a baby breathe, it's all in their belly.
Yeah, they taught us that in martial arts too, is to bring the breath down to the dantian, or to your center down here. But I noticed that once I started paying attention to that, I noticed how shallow my breathing always was. Admittedly, a lot of it had to do with I used to smoke cigarettes, and you smoke a cigarette, you're certainly not. Well, some guys did, but I didn't pull it all the way down into my lungs, like But so that breathing became habitual.
Yeah, and so normally the body can get rid of the metabolic waste, the waste as far as the cellular metabolism, through your breathing. The lactic acid, carbonic acid, those type of things turn into carbon dioxide and water, and you eliminate the carbon dioxide with your breathing. But dietary acids then have to be buffered and eliminated out the urine. And that's why the urine is such a good indicator of your inter and intracellular fluids. That's what we're always looking at. What is the pH of the fluid inside the cell and the pH of the fluid around the cells? Because that allows the toxicity, the byproducts of metabolism, to come out of the cell and into the fluids. It's what's called osmolality, osmotic pressure, pulls that out. But if the fluids around the cells become acid, then that can't be drawn out quickly, and then the cells become more and more acidic. So acids also, we were talking about energy, acids also break down magnetism.
Which you don't want that.
You don't want that because the energy of the body, the life force, is electromagnetic in origin. So when you break down the electromagnetism of the body, it can't communicate well with itself. And that's what's interference. If the body can't communicate, it can't function properly.
So it's like we're getting the 0-point physics here, as well as
Exactly.
physical physics.
Exactly.
All right, so we kind of get into the causes and effects of excess acidity. Let's talk about restoring alkalinity and what it'll lead to.
Well, basically, the most important way to do that is through eating a diet that's about 75% vegetables and fruits, meaning the alkaline foods, and 25% of your acid foods. And that's really the best way. Now, if you really are ill, basically it's good to start slow. Basically, brown rice and cooked vegetables. As you're healthier and healthier, you can eat more vegetables and have more of them raw, more fruits, more vegetables. Fruits are very cleansing, great foods, but if you're really ill, fruits might be a little bit too detoxifying for you. So,
and then, of course, keeping stress down and doing some exercise.
And exactly, all those things, because exercise allows your body to get rid of the acids as well. A fit body is 10 times more efficient at eliminating acids than an unfit body. And basically, the best exercise is walking, because it doesn't excessively load the body. You don't want to trigger an adrenal response, which most of us have done all our lives. I know I was an adrenaline junkie most of my youth.
So like weightlifting and that kind of stuff.
And extreme sports, all those types of things. What I did when I was a kid, we thought was extreme is nothing to the kids now. Jumping my stingray off a 10-foot embankment, I thought was a big deal. Now that's mild.
Now they like do skateboard flips. Yeah, it's amazing.
So that adrenaline again is going to be toxic, and it strains your body because that triggers there's a threat. And threat physiology and healing physiology are very different. You can't be in healing and emergency at the same time. You can be one or the other because the chemical makeup is completely different.
So like periodically calming yourself and meditative behavior and that sort of thing is going to help that.
Exactly, and carrying that into your activities. There's a saying from Paramahansa Yogananda that says that the ideal in life was to be calmly active and actively calm. So even in that state of going through life is to hold that center of calmness. And breathing. Another indicator for the body as far as triggering a stress response is mouth breathing. That indicates breathing through your nose and being calm is another way to just center yourself, get focused back on your breath.
What about allergies? I know a lot of folks are experiencing allergies. This is the first time, I've been up here for many, many years, and this is the first time I've actually had sinus problems at all.
Well, this year we certainly had enough quantity that it was everywhere. But also, again, your body, your adrenal glands, when they're not running in a stress response, produce your natural antihistamines and other chemicals to neutralize that. So, when the adrenal system, back to the stress, is overtaxed, it can't deal with the extra amount of stress from the pollens. Also, if the body is too acidic from diet, it can't handle and neutralize the excess proteins, carbohydrates, and fats that are the pollens.
Boy.
So
it's a lot of stuff to pay attention to.
It's a lot of stuff to pay attention to, yet the fix, so to speak, the cure is very simple. Yet it requires us to eat foods that many people aren't used to, or that they find, the things that people like the most are usually very acidic.
Sure. It's just stuff that tastes good, right?
Yeah.
But so basically, what we're looking at is some sort of modification of at least your diet and perhaps your lifestyle to be a little more active and a little more meditative.
Again, looking at those 6 essentials and looking at where you can make improvements. And as we said in the last talk, is that your thoughts have a more profound effect on your body function than all the other 5 combined. So that's always a good place to start as you're cleaning up your diet and drinking more water, getting the rest, getting the exercise. all those things.
And it's all helping to put you in balance and to flush your system at all.
Exactly.
I notice in your notes here we have the gallbladders mentioned, so let's touch on that. As usual, we're running low on time.
Yeah. The gallbladder is one of the primary storage of alkaline minerals, is the sodium. So we need organic sodium, not table salt. Your body can't break apart an inorganic bond, ionic bond. So you can't use the sodium in sodium chloride, which is salt. So you have to get your sodium out of your fruits and vegetables. It's sodium malate in apples, sodium citrate in citrus fruits, and on and on. So normally the bile that comes out of the liver is very alkaline, and it's stored in the gallbladder to act as one of the functions of the gallbladder. Has many, but one of the functions is a storage of sodium. So what happens is it will pull sodium out to buffer the acids. But as that sodium is pulled out, it makes the bile more and more acidic, more thick, and in time it starts to crystallize, and that's called gallstones.
Well, when they remove your gallbladder, then what happens?
Then you don't have that backup system anymore. You have to rely on other tissues to supply the alkaline reserves. So one of the next best things the body likes when it doesn't have sodium available is calcium. So where do you think it gets the calcium?
Fruits and vegetables?
No, because that's what you put in your body, but you have to personalize that.
Oh, okay.
So it comes out of your bones.
Yeah.
So an overacid condition is one of the leading causes of osteoporosis too.
You know, I learned an interesting thing about calcium in your bones and chlorine, and they didn't, and admittedly I wasn't there when they did the test, but they took a dog bone or something and they had a glass of water with chlorine in it. They put the bone in, let it stay in for a period of time, took the bone out, tested the water, the chlorine was gone, and it all gone into the bone. It compromises your bones and weakens your bones, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I know my dad used to swim every day, either in the ocean or a pool, and he finally died of bone cancer. So I always, had a suspicion that there was something doing there.
World War I, they used chlorine gas as a weapon. So, if anyone's gotten chlorine on their hands, you know what it does. It just dries you right out.
I'm of course concerned about it because they do put it in your water, even if it's in minute traces, just to kill bacteria or whatever. Well, everything, we got to be concerned about everything.
We do. And the other important thing with pH is around weight management, which is real important because if you have an overacid condition, the body will have a slower metabolism because your body normally runs on what's called a aerobic metabolism or Krebs cycle. If there's sufficient oxygen in the system, it will produce 30 units of energy for every cycle. If you don't have enough oxygen, it will go into an anaerobic metabolism because it will try to survive, but only produces 3 units. So it's 10 times less efficient, so your metabolism is slow.
So the more overweight you get, the more problems you're creating for yourself.
Yeah, and the more acidic you get, the more chances are you're being overweight.